We welcome now Drake Bassett, President and CEO of Palmer Home. Hey, Drake.
Hey, Gerard. How are you doing?
Doing fantastic. Well, we are headed your way here in a couple of days for the 12th annual Palmer Home for Children Radiothon. Our group will be there all day, getting kicked off at 6 a.m., and we'll be on site throughout the day. Of course, the cause is to raise money for the Palmer Home for Children. We look forward to it.
Well, we look forward to it as well. We're so grateful for, the continued support and collaboration with you and so many others to raise awareness for something we believe in very passionately, something we've been doing for a long time, but something that I think is needed now as much as more than ever. Just a great need out there, and we're really happy to be a part of trying to help that. But we love the fact that we get to do this with you all and spend the day reflecting on opportunities and reflecting on things that have worked and some of the challenges we face.
Yeah, and we enjoy it as well. We enjoy getting to know, of course, the staff of Palmer Home, and we get to meet many of the children as well, and watching them interact with the staff is always a positive experience. That's one of the things I always enjoy about doing the Radiothon, because it's pretty clear that there's a special bond between the folks that work at Palmer Home and the children themselves, and in a very positive way. And you know that you guys are making a difference in their lives today, and that'll certainly benefit them as eventually as adults.
I think so. One of the things I've tried to pay attention to through the years, wherever I've been, is you want to work with great people, and there's lots of definitions around what makes for great people. Character and resilience and skill sets and things like that, passion. We see all of that in our folks, but the simplest way I know to describe it is when I see our staff and I get the chance to work with them, when I see them coming, I'm excited to see them coming. And every time I see them, I appreciate the attitude, I appreciate the energy. And so I'm glad that our staff that does the hard work of really pouring into the lives of these children get a chance to connect with you and others and talk about how they work. I think it's important for many of your listeners and many of our donors to get to know them as well, because they're a part of this in such a big way, and we wouldn't be able to do our work without them. So I always appreciate that you know that there's a bond there with our staff, and that pours into our kids and makes all the difference.
Yeah, it's why we do it. I mean, you can see there's value there, and that's why it makes sense for us to be a participant and host the Radiothon and knock on the doors, so to speak, of all of our friends and listeners to dig into their pocket and help out a little bit, because it's certainly being put to good use, and we witness it there, and that's the point. For the benefit of our audience, Drake, and I know we talk about it whenever you're on the show, how does the Palmer Home come into contact and become the home for some of these children? What are some of the circumstances that you encounter that necessitates that?
Well, I think everybody, certainly if they listen to SuperTalk on a regular basis, I think they've got a pretty good grip on the challenges that are part of our culture, and we shouldn't be surprised when some of those challenges spill over into the individual families that make up our state. So often, we're working with families that are struggling for different reasons, whether it's if they've encountered crime in their life, if drugs have been a part of their family or a part of their community. Sometimes it's alcohol. Sometimes those things translate into abuse or neglect. And for a variety of different reasons, families can struggle. We understand that. We're not here to we're not in the judge's seat. We're simply here to help people, especially children who have no control over their situation when that stuff goes down. So, when those are the circumstances, or there could be a variety of needs. I am always impressed by the number of grandparents that we sit down with who have stepped in to take responsibility for the next generation. And like I said, we're here to support and coach whoever has custody of those children. We're here to work with them. And our goal ultimately is reunification, interestingly enough. But while there is a need for a child to have somewhere to sleep, people to trust, school to attend, sports to get involved with, learn how, and maybe for the first time go to church and hear about some of those things. When there's a need for that, that's what Palmer Home exists for. So we're so grateful that we're coming up on 130 years. But even though the world's changed and our scope has widened, the core mission is just to provide a home, a safe place for a child to be a child and to grow up and experience good things.
And certainly we have to agree every child deserves just those fundamentals. And something that's just always been kind of heart-wrenching to me, you've shared, is that in many cases these children don't know that they for sure have the next meal waiting for them. And you provide that stability when they come to the Palmer Home. For most of us, that is unimaginable.
It really is, especially if you grew up in a stable family environment where you never thought about whether or not there'd be food at dinner time. Um, you were never caught up when electricity was turned off and you weren't going to have heat during the winter. I know it's hot right now, but it's cold in the wintertime. And when there's no heat, that's a problem. So you don't think about those very basic things that are a part of our everyday life. But the children we work with have seen that. They've experienced that. They know what that's all about. And yes, we have talked before about children who, will stash a little extra food in their pocket, when we're not looking. And we roll with that. We know that that's part of the process. We realize that what they're having to do is overcome their situation and their lack of belief that food will be there tomorrow. So very fundamental things like that. So when they come to Palmer Home, of course they get their own bed, they get their own resources, but learning to believe that that's going to be there and be there and be there is quite a process. Not for everybody, but for some. And we've seen it time again. And I'm so thankful that our staff understands that. They realize children have come from traumatic environments. And our goal is to create trust. We want them to feel safe, create that trust. And when that trust happens, just think about the people in your life, Gerard, the people you trust. That's where your deepest bonds are, and that's where the greatest opportunities begin.
Yeah, and the good news is, from the Palmer Home's perspective, is you're intervening at a point where corrections can be made, and you can get them back on the right track, so that when they do ultimately get reunited with their families, I know that's the goal, graduate from high school, college, what have you, enter the workforce, become a responsible, productive adult.
You used the best word. I love that word because we're on a timeline with the life of a child. And I've talked about this before. I don't like to be late to movies. I like to see the views. I like to see all that. But if you show up to a movie 15 or 20 minutes late, you don't always know what's going on. Well, that's kind of where we are. We don't always know what's happened, but we know we're on that timeline. And so our opportunity is to intervene and understand what's happened to that child. And then we can begin to work with them to directly, change the trajectory of their life. That is an opportunity. And that's how we see it. We don't, look at it in any other way, just that a child's come onto our campus, into our world, and we get a chance to participate in their timeline. And if we can intervene, we can redirect. I also know that if intervention doesn't happen, that all of those patterns continue into early teens, and then they turn into young adults. And the statistics tell us that if you don't intervene early, the outcomes are not good. Kids wind up self-harming, kids wind up with all kinds of problems, and many of them wind up in jail or harmed or hurt. The suicide statistics tell us that children that come from broken environments and complicated environments doesn't work out very well. So it's a golden opportunity for Palmer Home to step into the life of a child and make a difference.
Yeah. And before we go, I'll just mention that not only is the good work of Palmer Home benefiting the child and the family, but society as well. We all benefit from the great work that Palmer Home does, which is why we need to be generous. But we're going to see you Thursday, and of course at the Radiothon, and be talking about it a whole lot more, Drake. Look forward to it. Thanks.
Thank you, Gerard. Great to see you.
Yes, sir. Folks, we're coming right back in the Element Wealth